Hi guys, Andrea Mills here. Today we are going to talk a little bit more about unassisted birth, and I had a request to talk about some of the specific things that happen after the baby was born, not just the birth itself. So that's what I'm going to share with you guys today. We have had one unassisted birth and 2 midwife-assisted home births and then 5 hospital births. And my last hospital birth, we intended to have an unassisted birth, but in the end we ended up not doing that. And if you would like, I will put a link at the end of this video to both my stories about my unassisted birth and my that was with my baby Sophia and with Claudia, and why she was not born at home and why I very much regret that decision. But because she was not born at home, I still have all my supplies that I had ready, so I'm going to be able to go ahead and show those to you guys today. So there is one bonus to that situation. The first thing I guess I will bring up is that Tom and I have incompatible blood types, in that I'm A negative and he's A positive, and all of our children have had positive blood types. So I have had RhoGam shots with all of my pregnancies. The last couple I did not take it during the pregnancy, and I don't want to take it during the pregnancy anymore. I've tried to learn all that I can about it, and I no longer feel like that's a safe thing to do, so I did not have RhoGam during my pregnancy, but I still have had the shot after the baby's born, and I'm on the fence about how I feel about that. I would love it if any of you guys have had multiple babies without having RhoGam when you would have conventionally needed it. I would love to hear those stories and what happened with you guys. So anyways, because I needed RhoGam, after Sophia was born, we had, well, before she was born, I'd actually went to our local clinic and got a prescription for the RhoGam shot, and then our local home health nurse picked up the shot for me. And then after Sophia was born, Helene came over and she gave me my RhoGam shot, and I have to say that I've had a lot of RhoGam shots now, like 15 of them or something like that, and Helene was the most amazing, wonderful shot giver I've ever had. It was amazing. She was wonderful. So she came over and did the shot, and then we had to have a notarized signature from someone in the medical profession who'd seen the baby so that we could get a birth certificate. So Helene went with me to the town hall so that we could get that paperwork signed, but I'll talk a little bit more about that in just a second. So yeah, so we had the RhoGam shot right away, and that is the only professional help that I had when Sophia was born. I did not choose to go to the doctor for any sort of newborn checkups or screenings or any of those kinds of things. So all the care that Sophia received came from my own 2 hands. But as far as the birth certificate goes, we found out, I wasn't sure what to do because, you know, in the hospital they take care of that for you. And when we had midwife assisted home births, the midwife had all the paperwork for us. And so when we were doing it unassisted, I looked at our state's health department website, and on there it said that we should take the baby into our local health department and they would have paperwork for us to get the birth certificate. So I didn't tell them ahead of time because I just felt like I didn't want people, you know, hassling us or anything. I wasn't sure what would happen, so I just didn't mention it to anyone ahead of time. But after she was born, I think she was about a week old or so, Tom and I took her into the county health department, and they really had no idea what to do with us when we came in. This was not something they'd really dealt with before, so we caused kind of a stir. But I think just looking at us, looking in our eyes and seeing that we were normal, nice people, everyone kind of calmed down, and we ended up on a conference call with the state health department, and they settled that they would just mail us the paperwork. So they went ahead and mailed the paperwork, and then Helene went with me to get to fill out the stuff that needed to be notarized. We mailed in the paperwork, and then they mailed us back our birth certificate, and everything was fine and dandy. With our son, we did have a circumcision, which I am totally fine if we did not do that, but Tom wants everyone to be a match set, so we went ahead and had Solomon circumcised. That's not something we had to deal with Sophia, of course, but Solomon was a midwife assisted home birth, and in that case we did call to our doctor that had helped us deliver several of our babies, and we just went in for an appointment with him, and I think it cost like $130 to have a circumcision done. And that is the only time Solomon's been to the doctor, and Sophia and Claudia have never been to the doctor. Eden was in one time when she got hurt once, but generally speaking, I just don't take my kids to the doctor unless we have a real reason to. I love that they're there and available for emergencies, but for routine care, you know, I used them more when I had my first few kids, but now I just find it to be an unnecessary expense and time waster. So we really just don't go to the doctor, and unless, you know, we really have a good reason to. I will share with you this book. It's called The Portable Pediatrician by Laura Walther Nathanson, and this book was really, it is helpful to me. It's written from a more conventional standpoint than I am in my ways of thinking, but it's still really helpful for, it goes age by age, like birth to 2 weeks, and 2 weeks to 1 month, and 1 month to 2 months kind of a thing, all the way up to like 5 or 6. And it just talks about common things that happen during those ages and stuff to watch out for. So it is really helpful to me when I have a question about something. Then I can always look it up, and of course I can look online too, but I really have found this book to be very valuable in just understanding problems that we're having. Like the first time one of my kids got roseola, I figured that out from this book, and now I'm set. I know what that looks like. And one time when somebody got a Lego stuck up their nose, she even covered that in that same age. It was really funny. It was like, man, she really knows what she's talking about. So this is a really helpful book. So I'm going to go ahead then and just show you some of the actual stuff that I have and things that I used after Sophia was born. And of course these were meant for Claudia but didn't happen, so now I get to show them to you. This is a digital baby scale that I got. I think I got it from eBay, and it was new for around $50. And let's see here, if we turn it on, it shows the last weight. There was 14 pounds 15 ounces. The last time I weighed Claudia, which was many months ago, that's what she weighed. And so it remembers the weight, and it's very nice. You just set the baby on there, and if it'll give you a weight, even if they're wiggling around, it'll just keep going, and then eventually it'll flash the weight up there for you. So it's very nice and handy. How I do it is I just take a receiving blanket and I kind of lay it on there like that. I brought in a baby doll here to demonstrate, but I'll lay the baby down like this so that their body is on a blanket and their head and their feet are off. And if you put the blanket on first before you start it up, then it'll adjust for the weight of the blanket so that it doesn't alter anything. So I get the weight that way, and then when they're tiny, newborn, I get the length by just taking a dry erase marker, and I just mark on my scale like that, and then I'd straighten out their little feet and mark at the other end. I've actually done this on a tabletop too when they got bigger. You can see the other mark right there. Normally I actually use my sewing tape measure, but this was one I had in this little kit that came with some stuff, so I'll just use the tape measure then, and I can measure between the 2 points and get the length there for the baby. I had printed up this little card with Claudia's name on it. One of the things that happens when you have a home birth is there's like not as much stuff to help you remember. I could not remember when Claudia or Sophia was born, because I just didn't have anything with her birth date written down on it, and it went from my mind, so I had to look up the birth announcement that I'd sent to the paper to see, because I couldn't remember. So with Claudia, I had prepared this little card where I could write down her birthday, the time she was born, her weight, length, and blood type didn't get to use it, but that was something I had planned to use so that I could remember all those little details that kind of escape you when there's not something there to remind you. Then also in here was a blood type kit. We were going to blood type the cord blood, which is what we did with Sophia. So after she was born, we just took blood right from the umbilical cord after we cut it, and we used this blood typing kit. I think it was like $6. It's called an Eldon kit. That way we could know what the baby's blood type was to decide if I needed to have a RhoGam shot. Because if the baby's blood type is negative, I don't need a RhoGam. But so far we have 3 A positive babies and 5 O positive. So they've all been positive, and I've needed the RhoGam every time. Something else that we used with Sophia was one of these little souvenir birth certificates, and I got this from the same place that I got my birth supplies from. I think it was inhishands.com is what it's called. And so you can fill in all the information, and then there's a spot on each side for a footprint. And then you can buy these little deluxe footprinter things, and they're really handy. It's a little thing that the ink is on one side, and then this is like a flexible membrane here, and you just put that where you want the footprint to go, and then press the baby's foot on it, and it leaves the footprint behind, and the baby's foot stays clean. So that was only a couple dollars, I think, to get that from the birth supply company. So I guess in a general way, the things that I watched for with the baby was just in that first day or two, making sure that they were peeing and pooping all right. By making sure, I mean I watched for pee and poop, and if they did it, I'm like, okay, everything's working fine. Didn't actually do anything. Taking care of the cord, we were careful to try to cut the cord so it was long enough that when it dried up, it didn't like come back and get sharp corners that would hurt Sophia's little tummy, but not so long that it's like hanging off and scratching her tummy. So that's something that we were watching for, and just that general newborn stuff. There's, especially if you've had a baby before, you kind of know what you're watching for, but we didn't do anything in particular with getting help from anyone else, just because there was not a reason to. We do feel very comfortable just taking care of things on our own and seeking help if there's an actual problem, and not wasting the time and the expense to go just to have someone say, yep, everything's fine, when we already know that everything's fine. We're going to continue talking about unassisted birth. I think the next video I make on the topic of unassisted birth will be on how I took care of my prenatal care while I was pregnant with my last 2 pregnancies that were unassisted. So if you are interested in continuing this conversation and you don't want to miss anything, then I hope you'll subscribe. And yes, you can check out my channel for other videos on unassisted birth and lots of other topics besides. So we will see you guys again very soon.